What's up, everyone? Davram from Davram Gaming here, and I wanted to take a little bit of time away from the gaming talk that I do on twitch.tv/Davram Gaming and talk about what's going on right now in the United States, specifically politics. On Friday, the Senate was unable to pass a budget bill, which basically means the United States government is partially shut down. And I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter and Facebook, and there's a lot of misinformation out there of people not understanding what a partial shutdown means, and there's blame going at Democrats and Republicans for a variety of different reasons. Ultimately, it comes down to working together and figuring out a way to get our government back fully operational. Now, I'm going to try to stay unbiased as possible and not point fingers one side or in the other, but more so give people information specifically around what is actually shut down and more so what is still open, because there is a lot of misinformation out there as far as what is shut down and more so what is open. So there's a great article that was put out by NPR News on the 19th, which was Friday. And it was updated once the government was actually in shutdown mode. And the article is by Brian Naylor. I want to give credit where credit's due. And the topic is open or closed. Here's what happens in a partial government shutdown. So I'm not going to read it verbatim, but you can find it on npr.org. It's National Public Radio, if you wanted to know what that is. So let's go down through some of these that people, again, misinformation about. Social Security. Social Security is still open and operational. Checks will be mailed out to those who qualify for Social Security. That does not stop, right? Does not stop in a partial shutdown. The military, this is a big one, right? A lot of people are pointing fingers on either side, saying, you know, this side doesn't approve or doesn't appreciate the military. This side doesn't appreciate the military, especially now after Saturday night, where there was a long debate trying to get something passed on Saturday, the 20th, about who is in favor of and who is not in favor of the military. This is predominantly I want to make myself look good and make the other side look bad, because the military, active duty military, will remain on the job and will get paid. Military operations such as those in Afghanistan will continue as normal. Paychecks will go out. Okay. Now, the reason people are all up in arms is because there was a Defense Department guidance that came out that said on Friday that said military personnel would not be paid. Okay. Now, this is more specifically looking at civilian personnel and operations and missions which haven't been fully funded yet. So any sort of training exercise will be stopped, right, to save money. So training exercises will be halted. Those that have not already been funded. Any sort of military contractor that has already been funded will continue. So keep in mind, anything that has already been put on the books and already been approved is still going to happen. It's new things, right? New training, new missions, new things that have not been put on the books. Those are the things that are affected. So active military personnel, they're still on the ground. They're still doing their job. They're still protecting us. They're still sacrificing so much for our people. They're still getting paid. Okay. Veteran affairs, right? The hospitals and things like that. This was actually in a scare back in, I believe it was 2012, when we had another one of these shutdown issues. There was a passage. It was can't remember what the actual, it doesn't actually say, the Veterans Health Administration will be funded in advance, right? So when the shutdown was imminent in 2012, didn't happen, but when it was imminent, a lot of people were terrified that, you know, veteran affairs and hospitals would shut down, and ultimately, you know, depending on what issue it is, will depend on what side I'm necessarily on. I don't take a political affiliation per se. But one thing I've always stood true to is our military people should not be left in the cold. They should not be without health care. They should not be left out there because of the great work and the sacrifices that them and their family did. They should be taken care of for life. That's just my opinion. We don't do a good enough job about it. But for context of this, veteran affairs do stay open. They're funded ahead of time, so therefore, if something like this were to happen, they are not affected. Mail delivery. The post office in the United States is self-funded, so no mail delivery will stop. Whatever money the mail service makes on postage and shipping packages and stuff like that, it's self-funded. So mail service does not stop. Any sort of travel, so air traffic controllers, right? The TSA, the security folks in airports, custom and border patrol agents, they remain on the job and will be paid. Why? Because that affects people coming into our country and going out of our country. That affects people traveling on a daily basis. It's about safety. So any sort of travel folks for the government, again, air traffic controllers, TSA, custom and border protection, they stay on the job and continue to get paid. National parks. So this hasn't been brought up a whole lot, but I know a lot of people enjoy national parks. It's a nice stress relief. It gives us a nice sense of wonder of our country, these beautiful parks that we have around. So for the national parks, in the case of this partial shutdown event, sorry, it's early in the morning. It's just past 7 o'clock here. So I'm up and early and stuttering. It's fine. National parks will remain open along with other public lands. So we just have to keep in mind during the last shutdown, National Park Services closed a lot of the parks and monuments in DC. It was very, very controversial, especially across the board of the older generation or seniors who, potentially could have got hurt, because if monuments are closed, that means there's no security there. People getting pushed aside, people getting, because there's no one there to stop people from getting out of line and pushing. And so it's a safety issue, specifically for children, specifically for elderly who want to enjoy the national parks. So the national parks do remain open. Employees do still get paid. Again, that was taken care of because of the last shutdown when parks did close and we had a lot of safety issues. Because the folks were not there. So just keep that in mind. Again, snow removal, winterization, and taking care of restrooms, all those things, safety concerns. So those things will be taken care of, and those folks will be paid for. Museums such as the Smithsonian and the National Zoo, they will remain open through this weekend. So today is the 21st. It's Sunday across the country. They will remain open until Monday. If the government continues to be in a full shutdown mode, the Smithsonian and National Zoo will remain closed. However, animals will still be taken care of, right? So employees to zoologists and things like that to take care of these animals in the National Zoo, they will still remain paid and on staff. They just can't have all the people there to take care of security issues and safety issues. So anyone critical of making sure and maintaining the health and maintaining the well-being of the animals in the National Zoo, they will still be there. The Smithsonian in New York will be closed. Definitely closed starting on Monday, just like the other Smithsonians, if we don't get through this. Courts and the justice system. So all federal courts stay open during normal operations for the time being, right? So they stay open right now. They have about, I believe this article says, a 3-week cushion in their spending. So if the shutdown continues past 3 weeks, then our court system will unfortunately be shut down. However, there are contingency plans so to keep certain things open and keeping the justice system operational. But we just have to keep in mind that there will be shutdowns after 3 weeks when that cushion of funding is used up. Legislation. Congress continues to operate. Obviously, they're the ones that are in charge of passing a new budget, and they will continue to be out there. They will be continuing to work for the people, right? Still getting paid ridiculous salaries because, they're causing most of this. But, that's I'll just get my little plug in there that says both sides are wrong and, compromise and deal with it, people. Compromise and deal with it. Now, one thing to keep in mind with Congress is the actual Congress folks that are in Congress, so the House and the Senate, they will remain paid. However, lower staffers that are employed by them could potentially not be paid or be sent home. So we just need to keep that in mind, that the actual Congress folks will be paid, will continue to be on the job until the shutdown's taken care of. However, lower employees on that ladder could be sent home, could unfortunately not have a paycheck. Most federal agencies are already, if not, they will be closed shortly. So we're talking about the agencies such as the Department of Education and the IRS, which is not a great thing to hear right now because taxation season is going on in the United States. I personally want to get my taxes done by the beginning of February. I have most of them done. But if the IRS is closed, well, those things aren't going to be processed. So that kind of stinks. But ultimately, departments of education and the IRS are going to be closed. However, departments like the Homeland Security, right, taking care of the security of the nation, they still remain open. 90% of the Department of Homeland Security is actually under the tag of essential staff, which means in these type of shutdowns, they still continue to get paid. The funding is there because, again, very important place. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, does continue to be open. Employees are expected to still be at work, will still get paid. Half of the Health and Human Services employees would be on furlough, which means laid off temporarily. So just keep that in mind. And there's some other departments that would be affected. Let me see here if there's anything else. So that kind of goes down and nails the highlights. So just keep in mind, it's a partial government shutdown. The critical agencies that are focused on your health, your safety, and making sure the country stays, not into chaos, not into like a craziness, right? They still remain open. So flights are still going to continue in a safe manner. There's still going to be security checkpoints at airports, border patrol, all that stuff stays open. The military, a lot of people are saying, well, the military, they need to get paid. They are still get paid. Just keep in mind that missions that have not been approved and or funded yet, they will not be funded until after we take care of the situation. Veterans healthcare still open, right? So critical pieces of the government which are responsible for safety and health of the American people and the people within our borders, those stay open. So don't panic about that. Don't point fingers, right? There's a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of, I hate this terminology because it's thrown around so horribly wrong. A lot of claims of fake news, right? Just get informed. There's a lot of information out there. Don't go to stupid sites like Wikipedia and things like that. Go to legit sites that actually can pull you the facts and give you, like if you go to this NPR article, there are links to the actual government sites with the actual information that say, this is why, this is how, this is how long we stay open, etc., etc. So again, the article's on npr.org. It's by Brian Naylor, and it's called Open or Closed. Here's what happens in a partial government shutdown. A lot of things different than 2012. So if you're trying to base this shutdown based on 2012, don't do it. There were a lot of things that were taken care of soon after the 2012 threat of a shutdown to ensure that, again, important things like health and safety are taken care of. So educate yourself, make sure you know before you start blasting out on Facebook and social media and Twitter and, make sure you know the information. Get out there, get educated, and get educated about everything. If you're a Democrat, learn both sides. Learn the Republican side. If you're a Republican, learn both sides. Learn the Democrat side. It's very important, no matter what your personal beliefs are, no matter what your personal political stances are, is that you can speak and understand intelligently both sides. Because if you don't understand both sides, you're never going to win an argument. Because I can tell you right now, the intelligent folks out there that will talk to you, you're going to get the unintelligent folks. Those are probably the ones that most people like to talk to. The ones that either agree with them or adamantly disagree with them, because then you can just curse and point fingers and call names, right? But the people who are out there who legitimately want to know information and who want to be truly educated the way you should be, they learn both sides. Whether it's hard for them to learn the other side, it will be. but learn both sides of the argument, and then you can make an educated decision on where you stand. Take care of yourselves and each other. We'll see you next time.